A teacher accused of helping juvenile fugitive Lionel Reynolds escape to Texas made her first appearance in Orleans Parish Magistrate Court today.
31-year-old Angela Filardo is facing a felony count of aiding Reynolds' escape after allegedly driving Reynolds to Texas after he fled a group home in Lake Charles. David Jones has more.
Lee and Meg, Lionel Reynolds was recaptured on Monday near San Antonio, and today we're learning more about the former teacher who allegedly helped him to elude authorities. Reynolds was serving time at an unsecured care facility in Lake Charles after he was found guilty in 2019 of shooting and paralyzing a man in New Orleans East during an armed robbery.
I was very much floored, shocked. I would never think that it would be a teacher.
Dorothy White is the grandmother of Daryl Scott. Scott was shot in the back and paralyzed by then 13-year-old Lionel Reynolds.
Very much shocked. I know that there are more people out there that was aiding and abetting more than the teacher.
White was in court Tuesday as bond was set at $5,000 for 31-year-old Angela Filardo, who was booked with accessory after the fact to Reynolds' escape last month. State prosecutors asked Magistrate Commissioner Peter Hamilton to set the bond much higher, $500,000, and for Filardo to be outfitted with an ankle monitor if released from custody. Filardo's defense attorney called the request, quote, absurd, but the ankle monitor was ordered as a condition of Filardo's bond.
She has helped him. She's helped him from day one. She helped him through the escape. More is going to come out. I'm sure there's more people that helped Lionel Reynolds along with his teacher. He could have walked away. Instead, he shot him in the back and he paralyzed him for life.
According to Filardo's arrest warrant, a state police trooper assigned to the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force learned of Reynolds' September 13th escape a week after it happened. Investigators said Filardo, a teacher at Walter Cohen High School in New Orleans, drove Reynolds to Houston. The investigation also found nearly 100 contacts between Reynolds' phone and Filardo's beginning September 22nd, 9 days after his escape from Lake Charles.
You did everything wrong. You're not for students. I hope, again, that you never ever teach another day in your life or have anything to do with children.
White and her family, along with the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office, opposed Reynolds' transfer to the unsecured step-down facility ordered by Juvenile Court Judge Candace Anderson in February 2022. Anderson was the judge who found Reynolds guilty of attempted second-degree murder in August 2019, and he was set to be released in April 2026. White says Filardo would come to juvenile court to advocate for Reynolds. Filardo also emailed Fox 8 on September 24th, asserting that coverage of Reynolds' crime and his escape was damaging to the now 18-year-old offender.
There are certain laws that need to be changed, and there are certain common sense rules that I think people should follow.
Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti says state law surrounding juvenile escapees needs to be reconsidered. His sentiment was echoed by other area lawmakers and DA Jason Williams, who's calling for new legislation requiring statewide alerts for escaped inmates, regardless of where they are being housed. White, meanwhile, says the whole experience has been unsettling.
I think it's a shame. And Judge Anderson, I hope you're watching. I hope you've been watching this all along, because we could have stopped, and you surely could have stopped, all this pain that you've put Daryl in, me in, our entire family in, Judge.
Walter Cohen High School declined to comment but did send a letter to parents and families this morning saying Filardo's classes would be covered. Now, we did reach out to Bradley Phillips, the defense attorney representing Filardo, who just got back to me within the hour and says Filardo's arrest just occurred and he has not yet had a chance to sit down and talk through the charges thoroughly with his client. Filardo posted bond earlier this evening and is scheduled back in court on December